Okay, hi, I'm Yaara, and today we are going to talk about serverless. So first, myself. So as I just said, I'm Yaara. I'm a mother of three wonderful daughters. Two of them are humans, and one is almost. Um, I'm a cloud engineer at CyberArk and also a squad lead. In my free time, I like running, reading, drawing, and when possible, also traveling. Okay, so you probably have already heard the buzzword serverless, right? So what is serverless? Let's try to understand it. Serverless computing. Okay, so what is serverless computing? Serverless computing is running your application on someone else's server. We can divide the word serverless into two different words, server and less. Less server handling on your day work. It doesn't mean that you don't run your application on a server. It just means that you use someone else's server to run your application on it. Serverless also provide you some backend services, such as diagnostics, database, data storage, and much more. Okay, so I want to show you a nice animation that I created for this talk that presents the differences between serverless and the local application. So let's see it. Okay, so this is Bob. Bob is a software engineer. And this is Suzanne. She's also a software engineer. Both of them deploy and develop a management system. Bob developed it on a local server, while Suzanne developed it on a serverless as a serverless service. One day, some customers found bugs in Bob and Suzanne's system. Bob and Suzanne had to fix their bugs, and yay, they did it! Now Bob has to deploy the code, packing it, and then deploy it on the local server. While Suzanne, she only needs to deploy her fix. More and more customers chose to work with Bob and Suzanne systems. Suddenly, Bob's system began to work slowly. Bob is monitoring the system, and complaints from customers arrived. Poor Bob is exhausted. He's trying to upload more pods and scaling up the traffic. And Suzanne, she's working on a new cool feature, while the cloud provider is scaling up her system. Meanwhile, there are some enhancements from the PO and the customers themselves to make the system more user-friendly. Bob works nights and days to make the traffic scalable. And what about those enhancements? And when will Bob work on the new cool feature that he wants? And what for Suzanne? She has time to work on new features. She doesn't need to worry about scalability or no maintenance. The cloud provider does all of this for her. So I hope you understand the differences. And now let's get back to the presentation. Okay, so who is going to benefit from serverless? Here are four stakeholders that benefit from serverless computing. The first one is Ed, our DevOps. He's going to have much more time. Now, since serverless app is easy to deploy, the scalability and maintenance are taken care by the cloud provider, and Ed has much more time. The next one is Edwin, our CFO. Since serverless computing payment is pay-as-you-go, you will pay for the time that you use the server. No running application on the server, no payment. While the server is idle because your application is not being executed, you don't pay. It is like getting a server on demand. Edith is our customer. She's going to benefit from serverless computing because the developers will now have much more time to handle to face on customer success and on the UX. They will no longer have to handle the infrastructure. And the last one is Eddie, our office cactus. You will have more time to take care of it. So how does serverless work? Serverless is an event-driven compute paradigm. The code is invoked only when triggered by a request. A trigger, for example, can be a change in the database, a message that arrived to a queue I listened to, a click on a website, or an access to a file in the data storage. These functions can be connected together to create a processing pipeline, or they can serve as a component of a larger application. So what you have to do, you just write your code, upload it to the server, define the triggers, and then an event triggers your code, and your code is running. Okay, so now let's talk about the pros and cons of serverless computing. So, the pros. We as developers don't need to worry about managing machine resources. The cloud provider maintains the server for us. Deployment is easy and fast. Since we don't have to manage the servers and we don't provide the infrastructure, we don't need to install anything. Just compile our code, and the rest is done like a magic. Any fix or a code change can be done very quickly. Just fix the code, compile it on the cloud, and the rest is done by itself. Okay, just as we saw that Suzanne did on the animation that I just showed you. Okay, the second is pay-as-you-go method. We, or actually our organization, don't need to purchase any server in addition, any server. Okay, sorry, I will start it over. The second is pay-as-you-go. We, or actually our organization, don't need to purchase any server. In addition, we pay only for the resources we use for the time we use it. No running application, no payment. Another advantage is great UX and happy customers. Since we need to focus only on the application and not on handling the infrastructure, we have much more time to improve the look and feel, which is what matters to the customers. They don't care about the work we do behind the scenes. Next one is better latency. A cloud provider has had servers spread all around the world. So if my customer is from Iceland, I will pay for a server in Europe rather than a server in the USA. And the last one, from a global point. Less energy is wasted for nothing. These servers are used by many customers at different times, so there are much less empty slots when server runs without any application executed on it. And now for the cons. The first one is debugging. Debugging is more difficult. There are no tools to debug a serverless application. I found myself once digging into so many irrelevant log files until I found a specific one that contained the error I was looking for. You actually need to learn about the log system of the serverless provider in order to debug your end-to-end application. The next one is deal with finance issues. Developers need to think about when to run the application, when to shut it down, and to carefully check the payment method. Otherwise, they will probably waste money for the organization. As a developer, it was the first time that I had to take financial factors into account. At work, not at home, of course. Then we have security issues. Uploading your code into the cloud is never as safe as keeping it inside your organization. Your code depends on many third parties, which might contain malicious code or relies on open source code, which might be problematic sometimes. And the last one, vendor lock-in. When we decide to use one cloud provider, we make adjustments which don't fit another vendor. Okay, so when to use serverless? If you want to build a lightweight and flexible application, which is fast expanded and updated, if your application needs to be triggered by different events, if your app don't need to run all the time, and from latency aspect, to be close to your customers and to your end users. Okay, so now I just want to show you a live demo. Let me just switch to this part. Okay. Okay, and now for the exciting part of this talk. I'm going to show you how simple it is to write a serverless application. So before you can start, you need to create an Azure account, install Python, install Azure CLI. And after you've done all of this, you need to sign in to Azure from the CLI by typing AZ for Azure plugin. You can clone the sample that I will show you in a minute. Here, this is the really simple function that I wrote in Python. I used also a Flask, which is a Python framework for web. Okay, so let's see this function. Because hello, it's called hello. I pass it the name, and it brings to the screen hello name. Serverless computing is here to stay. Okay, so if we are going to the terminal. Okay, so in order to run my application on my local host, I just need to run Flask run. Okay, and then if I'm going here, you can see hello Yaara, serverless computing is here to stay. Very nice, right? But it's on serverless. It is not running on Azure yet. So in order to run it on Azure, I need to run this command. Okay, this command is for the first deploy on Azure. Here I have Azure Web App, and then I gave it the name of the application. I called it Serverless Computing Demo. Okay, it is going to take several minutes. Therefore, I have already run it, and you can see it here. Okay. Here you can see that the URL is Serverless Computing Demo, the name that I gave my application, and it runs on Azure. See, Azure websites. Then hello and Yaara. This is my name, and then it print me. Hello Yaara, serverless computing is here to stay. And very easy. Next time when I'm going to change here something in the code, for example, I don't know. Another mark sign, and then I type Command S to save my work. And then in order to deploy it for the next time, for the second time all I have to run is this, okay? And this is not going to take several minutes as before, because this is only to deploy the changes that I've done. Okay, so see, it is very, very simple. You can clone the sample from my GitHub. Okay, it is really easy, simple function. And I wrote it here, all the instructions. So okay, so after we saw the demo, so let's just summarize what we had in this talk. We went over understanding what is serverless computing, who benefits from it, the pros and cons, when you should use it, and we saw a live demo. I hope you enjoyed my talk. I really enjoyed it. And you can contact me. This is my LinkedIn profile, and I will be very happy to hear from you. Thank you. Bye-bye.